Hey, it's Meatball.
And Mark.
And this is the Rocker Morning Show on demand from 107.7 RKR. Hello, Rocker Morning Show.
Hey, this is Chad Daniels.
What's up, Chad?
Hey, what's up, man? How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Fantastic. Well, you're here to talk with us because you've got a new Netflix special out called Empty Nester. The 10th special, I believe, that you've done to date. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right. Yep, finally got one on there.
It only took you 10 tries. No,
Yeah.
no, I'm kidding. You're also you've been featured on the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien. You've been doing this for more than 20 years, man. You're a staple in the comic industry, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show, man.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the new special, Empty Nester, is out now. We were watching a little bit of it this morning before we knew we were going to talk to you. How long have your kids been out of the house now?
My daughter left, probably 2 years ago, I guess. She's going to be a junior in college this year coming up.
Okay.
Yeah, she's actually going to Costa Rica to study for this year. And she was so excited when she found out. She came home and she goes, "And just so you know, I got such good grades, you don't even have to pay tuition." And I was like, "Well, you're going to another country, so I might have to pay ransom. I don't know how this works."
Oh, no.
Oh, geez.
Stay out of the dance clubs. Stay out of the dance, because I do not have a specific set of skills. I can help you.
Oh, man. And you have a son, too, is that right?
Yeah, he just got married. Yeah,
Okay.
so he's 25. So that's what this special is about. It's like everybody abandoning me for their lives, even though I worked so hard to raise them. It's a real weird way to thank a person.
Now, were you the parent that was kind of like stoked for them to be out of the house, or did you get like a little emotional, or what was kind of going through your mind when that finally happened?
Yeah, I was emotional when I dropped my daughter off. So I live in Minnesota, and she went to school in California, and so dropped her off and got back. And the first thing I did, I just ate a pizza without cutting it. I don't know what was going on in my brain. That's like the most pathetic thing you can do. And then I called my mom, and I was like, "What's the deal? Am I just done being a parent now?" And my mom goes, "Well, you just called me, idiot." And I go, "Okay, that makes sense." Yeah.
Well, after they were out, you talked about getting back into the dating pool. How awkward was that? Did that take a little bit of an adjustment period?
Oh man, so I didn't date my daughter's senior year because I didn't want to have to, give like 50% attention to her last events and getting to know somebody.
True.
So I took a year off, and I learned something very important about myself, you guys. I learned that I could die alone and be okay with that. I learned that. And that is great information to have about yourself, but a horrible attitude to bring into a new relationship. Because the first woman that was when I started dating, she was at my house watching a movie, and she goes, "I don't like this movie." And I was like, "Well, I could die alone, go home." You really have to figure out how to dial that in.
So what a great opening line.
Yeah, I know.
As a couple of people who are, have been in the, dating realm the last few years, I'm curious, was it the concept of dating or the concept of having to use these apps that made you feel that way?
Oh man, I've never been on an app.
Oh,
I
man.
I know that I would somehow do something on an app that would send me to prison for 3 to 5 years. I don't know. I mean, it's like swipe this way for this, swipe this. I mean, I'm not that old, but I just didn't want to do it,
Yeah.
And I finally met my girlfriend, and she doesn't have any kids. I obviously have 2 older kids, and she goes, "What would you think about having a kid now?" And I was like, "I can't, because my youngest is 20. That would be like my last day of prison stabbing somebody in the yard. It doesn't make any sense at all." It's like, well, here we go again.
Just going right back in for it, yeah.
Well, we know all comics obviously are different, and the relationship you mentioned with Kelsey Cook, who's an incredible comic herself. You have a podcast together. It's called Pretend Problems. Is it strange or difficult at all dating another comic, or do you feel like you get along perfectly?
It's actually been fun because we're not competitive in the comedy field. So it's like we have different goals, we have different career paths, all that stuff. So it's been good. We were playing tennis on a Tuesday once, and we just kind of stopped and looked at each other like, "Isn't this awesome? Like everyone else is at work right now. This rules." So that part of it has been fun. The only real part that's kind of bothersome is the fact that she's a little younger than me. And so, she said, well, talking about babies and stuff. And she's like, well, you don't think you'd want to have another baby? And I was like, I'm 49. So you would need to get a calculator and figure out exactly how dead I would be when this kid graduates high school.
Well, anymore in a relationship, I mean, age is just a number past a certain point. And it really, when you become adults, it just kind of becomes like, do you vibe well? All right, cool. I mean, isn't Bill Belichick, isn't he dating like a 20-year-old or something like that right now?
I don't know, but I've seen him, and he's going to pull a muscle doing a TikTok dance with her probably.
Do you find that you each get a lot of material off of each other? Like, if you both wrote a bit, like, and who gets to use it in the shows, or is it like a joint custody type of thing with the joke?
It's kind of funny because sometimes we'll be talking and then we'll just go, I call that.
Just call dibs on it.
Yeah. But we did something pretty cool once. We went on stage and did this thing we called Notebook Rebuttal, where we were both on stage, and then one person would tell their joke that they had written about the other person, and then that person would have a chance to tell their side of the story right afterwards, which was really fun, because normally you're in the crowd and you're like, that is not how it happened,
right,
but you
right.
can't argue. You can't heckle your partner from the crowd.
Yeah.
So that was a really fun show to do. I hope we do more of those.
So I have to know, do you have like an example of that you could tell?
Oh yeah. I mean, so I brought up the fact that, on our first date, she goes, so just so you know, peanuts can kill me. Dairy makes me crap my pants. And my response was, well, that's great information, because now I know if you accidentally have dairy, I can just give you a peanut to stop the madness. Right? And so,
oh my God.
And then, and then she's on stage like, did anyone write that? Is anyone recording this because the authorities, if I ever die of a peanut allergy? I mean, it's just like silly stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, we mentioned how like you've been doing this for about 20 years now. A lot has changed in the landscape of comedy in that time period. What would you say is like the biggest adjustment that you've had to make, or have you not made any adjustments to your comedy style?
Oh man, I haven't made any adjustments.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think I'm supposed to. I think, you hear everyone going, well, you can't say that. And I'm always like, oh, you can't, huh? Well, let me see if I can figure out how to say this. I'm one of those nerds that tries to figure out the puzzle.
What about like the process of writing a joke? Like, stuff that maybe you would write earlier in your career that maybe doesn't land as well now that you're, working bigger audiences and stuff. Have you had to change the way you write your jokes a little bit maybe?
Well, I used to write, I would sit down and I would put the idea of the joke in the middle of a piece of paper. Uh-huh. And then I would circle it and I would draw all these different lines with different, avenues you could take with that idea. I used to really sit down and really work on it. And now when I have an idea, I just write down a bullet point and then I bring it on stage and kind of let the crowd direct me with their laughter, kind of like almost like the hot or cold game,
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
Like, ooh, they're laughing. I'm getting warmer, or they're staring at me. This isn't good.
Yeah.
Are there any comics out there, new or experienced, who you think are wildly underappreciated right now?
I think Ian Bagg.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever. I think he is the greatest crowd work guy.
Okay.
In the history of comedy. So he used to have a place out by Mann's Chinese Theater in L.A. And that's where all the superheroes, those guys would dress like superheroes and tourists could take pictures.
Right.
And so we're going up to his place. We're in the elevator and we hear somebody go, hold the door. And so we hold the door and this guy dressed like Spider-Man gets on the elevator and Ian just goes, well, you've gotten pretty lazy, haven't you? I'm still laughing about it. I'm still telling it 15 years later. I love it.
I know he was on Last Comic Standing some years ago. That is so...
Oh, it's so good.
That's great.
You talking about the crowd work thing, something that we've noticed, and I see a lot of too, because I'm on TikTok a lot, is, comics using the crowd work element of what they do is kind of a propellant to put them out there. Do you have some of that? Like, are you a crowd work guy, or what do you think about that approach?
I have some, but I also, I think it's a great approach because you're not putting out your material. The only problem is when you become one of those comedians that's known for that, then the crowds think they can yell out and they think they can heckle because they think they're going to be part of a clip, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't really I don't record too many of my shows. I mean, I record the audio, but I don't record the other stuff because it's like, well, you paid for a live show. And the cool thing about a live show, I think, is getting to experience something that's not going to happen again.
Mm-hmm.
And so then if you put it out online, it's like, oh man, I could have just stayed home and watched this.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioning that thing about like, you know, people, if you're doing the crowd work and you're known for that, like, you know, Steve Hofstetter comes to mind because I see his stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I think he's even talked about it where it's like, I almost regret doing this, but at the same time, he is so good at it too.
Yeah. He was one of the first ones where it started off like comedian destroys heckler.
Yeah.
That was what you would put on those clips, and he was one of the first guys to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's still amazing to see some of his stuff. I don't know how he has any patience left.
I don't know how he hasn't been punched right in the face so many times.
Oh, I know. You know, somebody like you know, you've been in this position. You know, you've got some celebrity status too. You get to do some cool stuff. I just saw recently that you got to throw out the first pitch at a Twins game. Is that true?
Yeah, that was pretty slick because, you know, I'm obviously born and raised in Minnesota, have loved the Twins my whole life. And they told me, they said, hey, just go out near the mound and then just throw the pitch. And I was like, I'm going on the mound, man.
Yeah.
I am throwing from where the Twins pitchers throw. It was an absolute blast.
Were you nervous at all to get the pitch across the plate?
I wasn't, because I didn't know I was going to throw a normal pitch. I had practiced this weird pitch that I used to throw in high school, where I would hold on to the ball all the way through the throw, and then I would fling it over my shoulder and throw a high looping pitch. And so I was going to throw that one, but then they said there's no way that the mascot is going to be able to see that pitch and catch it. And so I was like, well, here we go.
Okay.
So I just fired one across.
You know, you mentioned too, you're from Minnesota, and we just got some news that you're potentially losing your governor. I know, you know, we don't talk a lot of politics or anything like that, but I just want to comment one thing on Tim Walz. He gives off the best dad energy, I think, of any person I've ever seen in a political position. Does that do Minnesotans feel the same way about him?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, it's like anything in politics. It's people are voting their party. I think Tim Walz wins because he gets the people in the middle on both sides, and he gets the left. And then, you know, the far right is like, he's going to take our guns, and he's the reason Minneapolis burned down, even though I live in Minneapolis and it hasn't burned down. But it's, you know, everybody has a narrative for everything, and, you know, just trying to get their guy across the finish line. Yeah.
I love the dad jokes that have come out. It's like, you know, Tim Walz is going to new balance the budget. And then somebody said something the other day. They were just like, it's not that he's mad at the GOP. He's just disappointed, you know, that kind of stuff. And it was just like the dad jokes just wrote themselves. I was like, this is comedy gold.
Yeah, he does have dad energy where he definitely is the guy that like is watching the movie with you at the sleepover.
That's good.
Oh,
man, the new special, Empty Nester, it's out now on Netflix, is very funny. Chad Daniels, thanks so much for your time today. It's been amazing. And if you're ever in Kalamazoo area or passing through the tour, you're always welcome to stop in and hang out for a bit, man.
That's sweet. I appreciate it. I used to come through there all the time with Gary Fields Comedy Club.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So you spent some time here in Kalamazoo.
Yep, absolutely. And I have family there as well. So
do you really? Okay.
So you never know. I might take you up on your offer. Absolutely.
Man, that would be like the first time in a long time the audience has laughed during the Rocker Morning Show.
Yeah, right.
We appreciate your time today, man. It's been fun, and good luck. I know you got some dates coming up in the fall, so good luck with that, and congrats on the special, man.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, buddy.
All right, we'll see you, Chad.
All right.
Bye-bye.
See ya.